Yo, what's up guys? It's Rexbordz and welcome back to our Streamer.bot C# series. If you're new here, I'm making a YouTube series that teaches you guys how to write C# code for Streamer.bot. This is part 2 of that series, so if this is the first video that you found, you might want to watch part 1 first, where we covered the basics of pulling viewer data. It'll give you the foundation of what we're gonna do today. So go watch it first if you haven't. In that first video, we just threw our data into Twitch chat, which is kinda cool. I mean, we wrote the code ourselves, right? So that should make you feel great. But let's be real. Chat is boring. So let's take it up a notch. What if we can make Streamer.bot tell OBS to display the data it receives through code? It's like basically making our own alerts using Streamer.bot and C# code. Sounds exciting? So I have a pre-made gameplay scene here, and it contains a browser source, which I called profile picture. I also got a group folder, which contains 2 text sources. One that's called follower username, and another one that just says just followed. So what I want to do here is, through code, I want to animate this alert like this, and at the same time it's gonna change the URL value of this browser source into the actual profile picture of the person that's gonna trigger this action, and also change the value of the follower username text source into the username of the person who's gonna trigger this action. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off from the first video. So here's the code, and to start with, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a comment here by typing into, is this forward or backslash? I believe it's forward slash. So 2 forward slashes, and we're gonna say update values. So when you type in 2 forward slashes, the next text that you're gonna type in are called comments. So comments are just a reminder to the one who's writing the code. It's just a marker to tell you what the below code is doing. The compiler doesn't read it as a code, so it's a good practice so that when you go back to your code and you don't remember what you did with your code, you can just add values that explains to you what the block of code is doing. So that's a good practice. So down here, I'm gonna type in CPH and then something about browser source. Browser. Yeah, this one. OBS set browser source. So I'm gonna type in open parentheses. So this method is for updating the URL value of a browser source. So it requires 4 inputs. First input is called scene. So we're gonna type in the scene where the browser source is. So if we go back to our OBS, we can see that the profile picture browser source is inside the gameplay scene. Okay, so we're gonna type quotation marks. We're dealing with strings, we always enclose in quotation marks. We're gonna type in gameplay scene. Okay, next type in comma, space. Next input is another string, which is the source name of the browser source. So let's go back to OBS, and the source name is profile picture. So let's just copy and paste that for ease. So the third input is the URL that we want to update it to. So in this case, we want the actual URL of the person who's gonna trigger this action. CPH get Yeah, there you go. It's Twitch get extended user info by, I want login. There you go. We're gonna type in open parentheses user from here. So this is the same as the get user target info sub action. It's the same as that, and we just give it another input, which I'm passing in the login or the username of the person. Oh wait, the fourth input is actually not required. It's just an int value called connection. Let me show it to you guys. So in Streamer.bot, if we go to Stream Apps, click OBS Studio, it's gonna give you a list of all the OBS instances that are currently connected to your Streamer.bot. In my case, I only have one. And if you look at the leftmost column here, it's gonna tell you the int connection value that it requires. So if I have multiple OBS instances here, there's gonna be 0, and then the next will be 1, 2, 3, so on and so on. So on here, for the fourth parameter, we could type in 0, but I'm not gonna do that because if you can see here, it says int connection. If you see an equal sign, whatever is next to that equal sign is the default value of this method. Because it says 0, and earlier I showed you that my Streamer.bot instance, the OBS instance that I want my Streamer.bot to connect to is 0, I don't need to put it there. So I'll just close it in with a semicolon. Okay, next up, we want to update the text value of the follower username text source. Do that. We're gonna add another line, and I'm gonna type in cph obs set gdi text. So this is the method for updating the text value of a text source. So also it has 4 inputs. So first is the scene. I'm gonna type in close in quotation marks, gameplay scene, and then the name of the source, which is follower username, quotation marks, follower username. Okay, the third value is the text value that I want the text source to update to. So we're actually gonna put user here because I want it to update to whatever the value of user here. Okay, and then the fourth input is again the connection index, which I'm not gonna bother typing in because it defaults to 0. So I'll just end with another semicolon. So I'm gonna show you quickly what this new lines of code does. So if I compile this, we get an error. Oh, I'm missing one important value. So it's actually profile image URL. Compiled successfully. Okay, so what's gonna happen here is if I simulate this trigger, I expect it to update this browser source into a profile picture of someone, and also this username be replaced to a username of an actual person. So let's try to simulate it. Right click, hit simulate. Okay, it says Chevron with Techron Plus just followed. And look here, the browser source got updated to someone's profile picture. I know it's a generic profile picture, but it still changed into another value. And it's giving us the right username, as you can see here. Now that we know that the code works, we also want to add in the show and hide animation like this. There. I'm doing it manually right now. but I also want to add it into the code. Okay, back into our code. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add in another comment, and this is for the animation section of the code. And I'm gonna type in cph obs show source. This is the same as the show source sub action that you can find in the UI. Now, it requires 3 inputs. First is the string. First is the scene. I'm gonna type in gameplay, scene, and I'm gonna type in profile picture, because I want the profile picture source to show up. And for the third input, it's the connection. I'll just leave it blank. And I'm gonna type in cph wait. And I believe I set 500 for the animation duration for that source. This is the same as the add delay sub action in the UI. And next up, I'm gonna type cph obs show source again. This time I'm gonna type in gameplay scene. For the source, I'll add user info. Okay, next I'm gonna add another cph wait, but this time I'm gonna add 5500. I put in 5500 because after the animation of the user info, I wanted to wait 5 more seconds before it animates the hide animation. Now for the hide animation, I'm gonna type in cph obs hide source. There you go. And for scene and source, I'll just copy and paste this one for the profile. No, actually, we want to hide the user info first. And then let's copy this cph wait 500. And then we're gonna type in cph obs hide source again, but this time we want to hide the profile picture source. Okay, now it's time to test the code. So what I wanted to happen is, as you can see here, the profile picture and the user info group. I wanted to update the profile picture and also the username of the person that's gonna trigger the action. And at the same time, I also want it to animate the alert. So I'm gonna hide this first, and I'm gonna right click the trigger and simulate, and it should give me a whole animation alert or follower alert. Let's do it. Fingers crossed. First time is a charm. Yes! 5 seconds? Yeah! It automatically hit after 5 seconds. Okay, we've actually achieved the goal for this video, but I want to teach you something cool with programming. Okay, as you can see here, the gameplay scene string was used a lot for this code. So I want to show you a way to store the value gameplay scene in a variable. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna add another line, and I'm gonna type in string scene, and I'm gonna type equals quotation marks gameplay scene and semicolon. So if we use a value a lot, instead of typing it as an input to a method every time we use it, we can just store it in a variable. So instead of typing in gameplay scene in these instances, we're gonna replace those with this new written variable called scene, and we're gonna replace all instances of gameplay scene with this variable. Also, I want to store the browser source URL into a string variable. So I'm gonna add in another line and I'm gonna type in string, and I'm gonna name this string user profile pic URL. I'm gonna type equals, and then I'm gonna copy this, then paste here. Oops, and semicolon. So instead of putting that one huge line of method call, I'll just type in user profile pic URL instead. Now, if I go back to Streamer.bot and then right click and simulate, it should still do the same thing. But the cool thing about this is I can recycle these two variables into whatever additional method that I'm gonna add to this code. So let's say, for example, I want to add another CPH OBS show filter, and then it prompts me to input a scene. I can just type in scene instead of typing in close quotation marks gameplay scene in every instances that it is needed. I'll just store it in a variable. So this is called variable declaration. It is when we tell the code that we're introducing a new variable, and we're gonna tell it the type of variable it is and the name that we're gonna give it to. And the process of giving it a value is called initialization. So here we declared a variable, and also at the same time we initialize the variable. Now that's it for today's video. I hope you learned something new. Again, I think this is something that you could achieve with just the Streamer.bot UI, but you're getting one step closer to writing something that is only possible through code. Just be patient, dude. We'll get there. If you have any questions about this video, feel free to comment it down below. I'll be happy to help you with that. If you have any complicated questions, again, feel free to join my Discord. Link is gonna be found down below. Also, please like the video if you really find it very helpful to you. And if you're liking the series so far, I'll post more of these, so consider subscribing to the channel to learn more about writing C# for Streamer.bot. So yeah, I hope to see you guys soon in the next one. Goodbye.